Hi everyone, welcome to episode 104 of the arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel and this is a video podcast where I talk about all the things that I have been knitting and spinning on for the past week. Today it is February 1st. We are now officially in the month of February. That means January has come and gone. It went by pretty quickly, also kind of slow. It's kind of like that weird thing. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to some of the things I have planned for February. I have a new cast on to show you all, and I have a new test knit I signed up for and got into, and I have a swatch to show you. And I have some just normal progress updates on my projects I've been working on that you've seen, and some spinning, and I have a couple acquisitions this week as well. So I'm really excited to just jump right in and talk about it. What I'm wearing today, it is finally making an appearance on me. On the podcast. This is my second Doppio sweater. The Doppio sweater is a pattern by Seunghee Knits on Instagram, and I love this sweater so much the first time I made it that I knew I wanted to make a second one. My first one was pink. This one, as you can see, is green. The yarn I used for this is, I have 3 different yarn combinations here, so 3 strands I held together. Big Little Yarn Co. Trusty Sock and Suri Silk Lace, both in the colorway Futakuchi-Onna, and then I held it with Pasley Knits Sailing Sport in the colorway Matcha, and I really love how this looks. I was worried about the color combination in the beginning, just looking at the yarn color separately, but there's something about the magic of Doppio. I feel like you can't go wrong with any yarn combination, and yeah, I really like that this has a really soft green overall with just a little bit of variegation and speckles from the Big Little Yarn Co. yarn colorway. I knit size 1. I use US 7 needles, 4.5 millimeter needles for the ribbing, and US 10, 6.0 millimeter needles for the rest of the body. And final measurements, I got 34 inches in circumference, which is 1 inch smaller than the size 1 sizing. And so that gives me around 4 inches of positive ease. And I had to use up basically all of my Pasley Knits yarn for this because I only had 2 skeins of it. So I really just used up as much as I could. But my body length from the underarm to the body hem is 9 inches, and that is 1 inch shorter. So it is a little more snug and a little more cropped than my first one, but it's still very cute and it's still super wearable. I will stand up now so you can see how this looks. I have to lift up my pants because it is just a tad cropped, but it really looks pretty fine, I think, here. Sleeves, I did not shorten the sleeves at all because I really enjoy the sleeve length on this. So you can see if I pull it all the way, it kind of goes past, it does go past my wrist, but not like covering my fingers. So there is a lot of nice movement and ease over here, and my belly button is right here, so it's basically right where the hem of this sweater hits, and so I need to make sure that my pants kind of goes at least up to here. I feel like to feel comfortable and to like move my arms kind of up and down a little bit so that I'm not showing kind of anything. So yeah, it's really comfortable. I am using Suri and a baby alpaca yarn in this, and so it is extra soft and fluffy, and it's keeping me warm. Today it's pretty cold. It was actually snowing for like, I don't know, like 10 minutes today, so it wasn't sticking on the ground, but you can see it kind of falling, and I thought that was really crazy. But yeah, so this is my second Doppio sweater in a really nice light green color. Oh, I do want to mention the curved raglan shaping here. It just fits. It makes the shoulders and the top part of the sweater fit really nicely. So yeah, so that is the Doppio sweater. I don't have any immediate like yarn plans for Doppio number 3 maybe, but I am not opposed to making Doppio number 3. But we'll see. I need some yarn inspiration to go with that pattern, but I'm sure it'll come. Okay, let's talk about my one finished object for the week. This is my season socks by Summer Lee. It is my first sock pattern I've ever knit from Summer Lee. Finally, it's been so long since I saw her patterns and really like them. And I finished it. Okay, they're done knitting. The ends are woven in. I haven't blocked them yet because this seems to be a trend of mine lately. I used to be really good at blocking things right before showing it on the podcast. Lately, I've been not great at doing that. So these are unblocked, but that is like the final step that needs to happen for these socks. But they look really cute still, and so I wanted to show it to you all. The yarn I used for this was a sock set from Pasley Knits, Coastal sock set, in the colorway Kyoto, which is the main color, the variegated gray pink color, and then Sakura, which was the mini skein that I used just for the ribbed cuffs here. And I think it looks really cute like this. I knit size medium. I use US 1 needles or 2.25 millimeter needles to knit this. And these were my January socks for 2025. If you forgot or don't remember or haven't heard me talk about it before, I am doing a year of socks with my friends where we pulled some yarn out of our stash that, yarn we already have, and we kind of like planned them out for each month of the year. And so the goal is to knit 12 socks for the year. For me, some of my other friends are going to do like quarterly socks or just when they can for the year. But these were my January socks. So just in time for the end of January, I finished these, and I'm really happy with them. I did try them on already, and they feel very comfortable. These were worked top down or cuff down, and I really enjoy the length of this. I feel like it makes it extra cozy, and the way that this stitch pattern, the season stitch, that is the reason why the sock pattern is called the season sock. It uses a combination of like slipping stitches, and so I feel like the fabric it creates is pretty thick, and so it feels extra warm. I don't know how to tell when socks are extra warm or not, because sometimes even like DK weight socks my feet get cold in, but they feel like they would be warm because they're just extra thick because of the stitch texture. And there is one modification I made to these, and that is that I did not change my needle size for this. In the pattern, it says to start with, I think, like a US 1 needle for here, and then go up to US 2 or maybe 1.5 for the rest of the sock to give it a slouchy look. And I was worried about having a sock that's too big, and so I just stayed with my US 1 needles all throughout. And I think that was a good choice for me. I did make sure that the size I chose was, if I was like in between a size, which I was, I feel like I was in between the size small and size medium, and so I just went up the size. I went the size up just because I knew I was going to keep my needle size on the smaller side for the rest, and it worked out really nicely. So feeling really good about these socks. They fit great. It is a heel flap and gusset kind of sock, and those fit me pretty nicely, so it was great overall. It was fun to work on. The stitch pattern is really easy to memorize, and so I don't have to look at the pattern while I'm working on, this part or even like the foot, and it was great. I enjoyed it. So yeah, these are my January socks. I'm very happy that is accomplished. And that was my one finished object for the week. Moving on to whips, I have just some progress update to show you all. I worked on this more than I thought I would. This is my Birch by Andrea Mowry, and the yarn I'm using for this is Explore Knits Earthy Sock, which is their non-superwash base in the colorway Bainbridge Island. I'm knitting size 1, US 2 needles, 2.75 millimeter needles, and here is what it looks like right now. Okay, what I accomplished this week, because I have some cute stitch markers here. I was working on the first sleeve. I was here last week, so you can see I finished my first sleeve, and the way that the decreases worked, this is my last decrease here, and so I just knit straight for this much, and then I did the 2x2 rib as it's written to do in the pattern. And as far as the length of sleeve, I just checked with my first Birch because, oh, this is a second Birch. Just like I'm wearing my second Doppio, I'm working on my second Birch pullover now. I just measured compared it to the sleeve I have on my first Birch because I really like how that one fits. And so I just, compared it and just did the same. So first sleeve done, thank goodness. Now working on the second one. I needed to just pick up the second sleeve because otherwise I know that it would, the amount of energy and mental, that I need, brain space that I need and focus to pick up the sleeve and kind of get that started. I just want to get that done so that I wouldn't have an excuse to not knit more on this. So I did pick up for my second sleeve and I worked one decrease so far. I think that that's great progress. So here's what the whole thing looks like right now. It is mostly sleeve, which I think is so funny, but it's looking great. Again, I just love how the color of this yarn is working up. It is beautiful. It actually kind of reminds me, it has similar vibes to my hand spun sweater from last year, which is my my weekender crew neck. And I have it right here. I guess I can show it to you. It has very similar, it's not the same. My hand spun is definitely more gray, but I feel like it has very similar vibe because they both have really light red, yellow, blue kind of in there. And yeah, so that seems to be a favorite kind of color palette of mine. And I love it, and it's called Bainbridge Island, and so that makes me love it even more. So this is going to be really, really, really cozy. So that's what's keeping me going on this. I feel like it's just because I know how much I love my first Birch that I would love to have a second one to just keep rotating them throughout. Okay, let's talk about one of my test knits. Oh, because I have made huge amounts of progress on this week. This is my Kermode hoodie by Winter's Weather Knits. And last time I talked about this, I had the back panel and sleeves, and then the front of one of the sleeves. I finished knitting the other front of the sleeve, and I've joined all the pieces, and I'm working on the body now. So you can actually see maybe sort of kind of what's happening. But first things first, this is a test knit for Winter's Weather Knits. I am using Julie Asselin Boucle in the colorway Dentelle. And I guess I should hold this up while I talk about it so you can actually look at something. And I am knitting size extra small. I am using US 4 or 3.5 millimeter needles to knit this. I did have to size down my needles because Boucle just seems to be I knit very loose in Boucle, it seems like, compared to other people. So I do have to size down for Boucle. And then, yeah, I think that's all the details. Okay, so let me hold it up. This is what I have so far. 2 full sleeves done. Kind of the top, front, and back. And I am joined under the arms for the body. And so now I am working on knitting the body. And so how crazy is that? It all kind of just came together. Look how big these sleeves are in the best way, and how cozy this is going to be to wear. This is an open cardigan that's going to have a hood and optional little bear ears to add on the hood, and I will be doing that. I plan on doing that because I think it's so cute. Okay, I want to talk about construction because now I have all the pieces. I can maybe actually show you what has happened, because otherwise the last time I just had pieces to show. Okay, because this is very geniusly put together. I haven't knit anything that had this construction before. So in the beginning, everything was worked flat. Actually, I guess this whole thing is worked flat because it's an open cardigan, including the sleeves. The sleeves are worked flat, but don't get too concerned yet. Okay, this is the back piece, and it's going to be hard for me to show you the entire sleeve, but as you can see, there was no seam between the sleeve and the shoulder, like joining to the body, like where you would expect to see a seam or a pickup somewhere like right along here. There is none because it is knit all top down here. So all across this entire, that's why this is crazy. The cast on for the back and sleeves was from one wrist of the sleeve all the way across to this side is all one piece. This thing right here is all one piece worked top down. Okay, then once you're done with that, and there's some really cool shaping for the sleeve wrist, because you can see the sleeve here, the wrist is smaller here than it is circumference wise around the rest of the sleeve, so it's very cool. Okay, then for the front, this was one piece. So the front of the sleeve this way, top down, and a little bit of, this part here, front body. Same for the left side. I don't know if right or left was first, but then this was just all one piece here. Front of the sleeve plus a little bit of the front of the body. Okay, they were all provisionally cast on. And so what was really cool was, you don't actually have to seam your sleeves on. You do a 3-needle bind off all along, because again, the sleeves were knit flat. 3-needle bind off on the bottom, 3-needle bind off on the top of the sleeve. And I think you can maybe kind of see, but because it's in boucle, it's like almost seamless. Like you can kind of tell, but it makes it very clean for the bottom and top of the sleeve. Also, because it's boucle, can you imagine having to seam something in boucle? I can't. That seems like a nightmare that I wouldn't want to do. So the fact that you do a 3-needle bind off, even though it's a lot of stitches, right? It's along the entire length of the sleeve twice. It's way better than having to seam that. And so I thought that was very genius. And now I have stitches on hold right here on my the pink cord here, on hold for the hood, and then I'm working the body in the round. So I hope that kind of explained a little bit on the construction of that, because I thought it was very cool, very unique. It probably has been done in other patterns, but I haven't knit any of those patterns, so that's why I just feel like really, really cool and special about this pattern. So I'm really happy to be working in the round now, because now it feels a bit more of like a familiar, like, yes, I know what's going on type of thing while I'm knitting this, and I can actually see my progress and kind of gauge how far along I am compared to like the entire like finished project. So that has been really great, but once I did do the connecting and all of that, I kind of like stopped working on the body a little bit, just because the rest of connecting did take a long time. Oh, I did want to mention, because I talked about how all these pieces were there was a provisional cast on for them, and because it's with boucle and because there's a lot of stitches, I tried 2 different provisional cast on techniques. One is a crochet one, which I feel like might be the more common one, where you use a crochet hook and then you kind of like, so actually, yeah, you use a crochet hook and then you crochet loops onto your needle using scrap yarn, and then you use your main yarn and you knit through that, and that's your provisional cast on, which makes it, I feel like it's not terrible. However, if you have to do that for like hundreds of stitches, or even just 100 stitches, it's kind of a lot. But as far as like fiddliness goes, I feel like I've done it enough where it doesn't feel too fiddly to do. But the part where you have to, you unzip your provisional cast on and pick up the stitches after, I was worried about, because again, it'll be boucle and harder to see where to put your needle in to pick up those stitches. So the other way that I did my provisional cast on for one of the pieces, is the one where you line up, I'm just grabbing my needle so I can maybe show just a little bit. You line up your needles, like two needles like this, so like a bigger needle than what you need for your project. 2 needles, and then you have your scrap yarn kind of like hanging around, and then your main yarn, and you wrap your main yarn around and then twist like your scrap yarn, main yarn and like scrap yarn, and so that when you pull out one of your needles, you have big loops of your main yarn that you knit through, but then your scrap yarn is just one piece through all of the loops. I hope that makes sense. So what I did, and this is my first time doing this specifically. I've done that technique for a provisional cast on before, but specifically what I did this time is instead of using a scrap yarn, I used one of these cords. So that because this is already looped through all of the loops, all of the stitches, when I go to pick up my provisional cast on, all I have to do is put my needles in and then rip out, the cord, or, like just put it all on my needles. And I was like, that sounds very intriguing. Again, it would be a lot more fiddly to cast on, but the putting the stitches back on your needles sounds like it'd be so easy. And it is, as I predicted. That method made putting the stitches on the needles way easier and faster than the other method, the crochet method. But I think it is just, which one would you prefer? Because there's pros and cons on like their crochet one is, I would say, easier to cast on, harder to pick up. But the other way was harder to cast on and easier to pick up. So it really depends. I think that if I was lazy, I would just do the crochet cast on, because then I can cast on quickly and just deal with it later. But the other way really made picking up super nice. And so I don't know, if you have to do 100 or 200 stitches, especially with boucle, I think might be worth doing it with the cord, so you can just slip them on after, because having to undo the crochet cast on, provisional cast on, and try to pick up the boucle felt very tedious. But I think it's all very much a preference thing. So anyway, so that was like kind of like the big thing that happened this week. And yeah, I'm really excited to see the body of this grow. I did try this on, and it is so cozy. It is so comfortable. I'm going to live in this, I think, once it is done. And I hope I can finish this before the weather gets too warm. I'm going to wear it until I start sweating, I think, because it's just so soft. The way that this yarn specifically also is knitting up is so soft and cozy and fluffy and not itchy. So I really, really, really love this and have been enjoying working on it, even though it is boucle. Boucle makes knitting feel a little bit slower, but I think the end result is super, super worth it. Okay, so that is one of my test knits. I have just some progress on my Seaway. I made a lot of progress the first week, like when I first cast it on. I just like sped through the beginning, and now I've like slowed down just a tad. But let me hold up what I have. Here's my Seaway. It actually kind of looks like just like a t-shirt right now, like a cute one. The Seaway Pullover is a pattern by Ozetta. The yarn I'm using is Harrisville Designs Daylights in the colorway Bloodshot. I'm knitting size extra small, and I'm using US 7 needles or 4.5 millimeter needles to knit this. I believe I sized down my needles because the first time I cast on and I like took a measurement, I was like, it's too large. I think I haven't like re-measured, especially now that I could measure, the body width now. Although it's going to change, I think, with blocking, but I think stitch-wise I'm on gauge. Row-wise, I'm still a little too big, but I didn't want to size down again. But this is my stitch marker from last time. So I already was a pretty good amount into the body. And so I think maybe I just like did the same amount of body from the last time where I was body-wise. It's been intuitive to figure out like the stitch pattern now, or like when to do the cables, because they do alternate. But counting the rows now makes sense, and so it's easy to, I don't have to look at the pattern, or I don't have to like count every round to figure out when to do the cables, or to figure out when to do the cables when it is a cable round. So that has been super nice, just to have like an easier knit going. I am still very much enjoying working with this yarn. It is a woolen spun yarn, I believe. Some part of the yarn is a woolen spun, I think. And so it really has this like nice wooliness to it that's not scratchy or itchy at all, but it has that property where the knitted fabric like keeps its shape pretty nicely. And so yeah, again, I have knit with this yarn before, but it was years ago when I was still figuring out, you know, kind of like how to knit, or like to knit things super nicely. So I feel like I just like didn't really appreciate the yarn as much back then as I do like right now. Maybe because I also spin, and so like just how the yarn feels and the twist, and worsted versus woolen spun or prep yarn fiber is very interesting to me now, and I notice it. So back then I definitely didn't. But it's overall been a very enjoyable knit. I love that it has this colorway has subtle red flecks in there. Hard to see on camera maybe, but it is there. And it's going to be a really nice, like fully textured knit, but not something too crazy or really difficult to knit or work on. I am hoping that I finish this ball of yarn before the body is done. Although if I don't, that's okay. I still have to go a little bit more, I think, of repeats of the cables before I knit the ribbing. But I would really like to do the collar first, like the neck. Yeah, the neck collar before finishing the body, because that's usually what I do, but I forgot. And so I connected another ball of yarn on the body, and I was like, oh, I usually do the neck first before I finish the body. So probably the neck first, then finish the body, if that's how it works out yarn-wise, because I don't want to, again, like cut yarn just to do the neck and then reattach if I don't have to. And then sleeves. The armholes look large, but I think it's meant to be. Although, again, my row gauge is a little bit larger, so maybe that's the reason why, but it's supposed to be drop shoulder, and the sleeves are supposed to be pretty wide, and so I'm not super concerned about it. But yeah, it's looking good. It's a nice knit. I enjoy it. And of course, I'm looking forward to matching with my friend Emily, who already has this as a finished sweater. So yeah, that's what's keeping me going. Not that it's not a fun knit to work on, but it is making me like add in those like extra times to work on it, so I can match with Emily even sooner. Okay, yeah, so that is the Seaway, and then I think that's all the projects that you know about. I have one new cast on that I get to talk about now. I have cast on my February socks with my for my year of socks thing that I'm doing. This month is pretty fun because I am using a hand-dyed yarn by me. So this is a yarn color that does not have a name. I just dyed it myself and was just experimenting, really liked the end result, and so I kept the skein and was like, oh, I should probably use it for my socks, because I believe this is a sock yarn. I didn't take great notes when I'm like, some of my testing of yarn dyeing yarn, as far as like specific recipes. I think I have this one, but I'm not sure. But I also don't know exactly what the yarn base was, but it is a fingering weight yarn. And it's a 2-ply. I know that. So it's either 100% superwash merino or it's like a 20% nylon, 80% superwash merino yarn. Okay, the sock pattern I decided to choose for my February socks is the Euterpe socks by Sari Nordlund. I tried to look up how to pronounce this, and I think there are a couple different ways I heard online, so I'm going with the Euterpe socks. This is from Sari Nordlund's Softly Timeless Knits book, which I bought when it came out, and I've only knit one pattern from it so far. I had a goal last year to knit more from it, and it didn't happen, but I am going to start off the year strong again with doing some things like knitting patterns out of books that I love, and this is my favorite sock pattern in that book. Maybe I should hold it this way because this is how it'll look like on the foot. And it is a cabled sock. I'm gonna see if I can focus on this a little bit. It's a cabled sock, and this is only one pattern repeat so far, and so it might not be super clear on what the pattern is, but it is like a twisted ribbed traveling cable that does kind of like this like zigzagging across, and I think it's really, really nice. I like that there's no lace on this because Sari Nordlund has a lot of lace socks, and I think there is a lace sock in this book, but I think the lace socks don't fit me as well, but I really like the cabled socks, and so I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how this looks and fits on me. And I think it looks really nice in this yarn color. I was a little worried because it is supposed to be like a tonal, like a one color yarn, but the way that I dyed it, there are some lighter and darker patches, and so I was wondering how it would look in the stitch pattern, but I think it's looking great, and you can still see the cables, so I'm very happy about that. This is very much a change from the other sock pattern that I was using, because this one, it's a chart. It's a cable chart to read from, and there's no way I'm going to memorize it. And so whenever I work on these socks, I'm going to have to look at the chart the entire time. So that is only one downside of socks like this, but I think the end result will be worth it. It just means they're not the socks where I can bring with me on like a trip, you know, or like being passenger princess in the car and knit on it, because I have to look at the chart for every row. But it's cute, it's pretty, and I'm gonna like the end result. So, and it'll be my first socks using my hand-dyed yarn, I believe, so that should be pretty fun. I am knitting the smallest size on this, size 1, and I'm using US 1 needles, 2.25 millimeter needles for this. I think the pattern says to use US 1.5, which I am realizing now. I used to knit my socks on US 1.5, and then I was like, it's too big for me. I tried US 1, and I was like, I love the fit of these so much better, and just having like a tighter knit, a tighter fabric, I enjoyed it, and I was always like, why did I go for US 1.5? Because the US sizes that have half are usually kind of odd too. So I was like, how did I knit my socks like that? And I was like, I think it's because Sari Nordlund's patterns must, like, the default might be, or for most of them might be US 1.5. So yeah, so I am using US 1 needles instead, so I size down, and I think it should fit fine. Stitch count wise, it seems like it'll fit fine. So that is my new cast on and my February socks. So I'm making good progress on that. I'm feeling really good. Okay, I did kind of sort of cast on another thing, but it was a test, it's a gauge swatch for a test knit that I applied for and got accepted. I have been eyeing this pattern ever since I saw the post of the pattern on Instagram, and I was like, I kind of just like kept an eye for when the test knit was going to come out, the test knit call, and so I'm excited. This is my second time ever test knitting for for Emily Chen. She is mknits on Instagram, and I really enjoyed doing the test knit, and her entire test knit process I feel like is very thorough, and she was very attentive and responded really quickly, and I really liked how she did her how she kept everyone up to date with any changes in the pattern and all of that. And that was the first time I test knit for her was for her first pattern, and she has made many more patterns since then. And so this time around, I have noticed some changes in how she runs her test knit, but they're all have been she's upgrading herself and it's even better, I think. And so I'm just so excited for her, and yeah, she makes such great patterns. Okay, this is my gauge swatch. The test knit I am doing for her is called the Maeve Vest, and it's an pretty much all over cabled vest with some seed stitch on kind of the underarm and on the sides of the body. But the thing that really drew me to this vest is that around the armholes is like a braided cable around both of the armholes, and I think it's so nice, so pretty, and I don't think I've seen a pattern that has cables right along the armhole. So I was like, I really want that. So here is my test swatch, so you can see the yarn combination that I chose and how it's going to look. And this is the center motif, center front and back, and it uses a twisted knit stitch, and it's traveling cables to make these diamond shapes, and it's really great. Okay, these are the two different yarns that I'm holding together to make this. And one of them is from a yarn dyer. This is my first time using their yarn. So, and I'm excited too because I got this from Flock, and so I feel like I'm I'm using some of the yarn that I got from Flock that I was really excited about in 2024. So this is the Royal Bee Yarn Company. It is a fingering weight yarn. I don't think that there's a colorway name on this. I don't see a color name on this, but it is fingering weight. It is 100 grams, and it's 100% extra fine merino wool, 472 yards. It is very soft feeling, and this pink I think is a really nice, sophisticated looking light pink, and I would not call this a baby pink. It's almost I would say kind of a gray-y pink, but feels like an up-leveled light pink and not too childish. And so I really like it. I got 2 skeins of this, and so I am expecting to at least break into both of them for this project. And I also believe that this is a non-superwash yarn. I went on the Royal Bee Yarn Company's website to see if there was any colorway names that I could find for this, and I couldn't find anything, but their site did say all of their yarn was non-superwash. So, and that would make sense. It doesn't say superwash anywhere here. It just says 100% extra fine merino wool. So I really like that. And then I am pairing it with this Suri. This is from Sorella. This is the Suri lace base in the colorway Cashmere. And so this is definitely more gray than this one. You can see that on the camera. It's more gray, but the combination's looking really blended and not looking marled by any means. So I'm very happy with this gauge swatch, and also being able to test out the colors on that. So really looking forward to casting this on and starting up that knit. And the vest is so nice. I'm really looking forward to having that as a final finished object. Okay, and yeah. Oh, sizing wise for that, I am knitting size 1. And I'm using US 4 needles, 3.5 millimeter needles. I still need to wash my swatch. So, but I think it's looking good right now. I did have to size down my needles, I think 2 times, because maybe because there's so many cables and twisting that my gauge kind of gets loose when I do that, so I did have to size down my needles, but, you know, whatever it takes to get gauge, and, yeah, I'm looking forward to that, so you'll probably see more of that, like an actual cast on of that, next week. Okay, moving on to spinning, I'm still doing my Nest Fiber Holiday Advent, so, and again, my goal of that is to do 2 of the fiber things, per week, and I am working them in the day order that I opened them and that, you know, they were numbered as. So here are my 2 from this week. I am actually, you probably look at them now and okay, in the fiber, when it was in the fiber, I was like, I don't think these 2 would look good together. And you'll be like, right now, I'm even looking at these and I'm like, you're crazy. They look cute together. They look like they match. Like if they were paired together on purpose, it would look like they were paired together on purpose. I do not know if the Nest Fiber, the Holiday Advent, like if you got, I did the full 24 days, and so it was alternating between tonal and a multicolored fiber. And so I don't know if the tonals and the multicolors like next to each other in the days are meant to go together, but I felt like a lot of them do really go together pretty nicely, which makes it fun to knit it for the week because then it feels like a whole project. And I don't know what it is, but they look great here, all spun up, but in the fiber form, I was like, I don't think it matches, which is, again, it looks so good here. I don't know why I thought that, but it was a fun spin for this week. This first one is Pullover, and this is a great pinky purpley color too. So Pullover, fun, really nice and airy and soft. So I kind of want like a Pullover sweater spin in the future would be kind of fun. It feels really nice. So that's Pullover, and then the multicolored one, this was the Punta Arenas wool and silk. And so this one did have silk in it, and I could see it, but it wasn't hard to spin. It wasn't kind of like clumped up together, and so it was just an overall really nice spin. I feel like these colors are less me because they're just kind of, maybe most of the reason though that it's not me is because of the orange. I feel like I'm not really like an orange person, like this kind of orange. I like peachy kind of orange, like a pink orange, but not just like straight orange. So that might be it, but after spinning it, I like it more spun than I did just in the fiber. So that was super nice to work with. This wool, this was the first time I worked with the Punta Arenas wool, and it was also really nice to spin. It wasn't too difficult. It wasn't difficult at all. I didn't have any problem with it. So overall, just like 2 great easy spins. Fun, great to spin on while I was watching TV, and I had no problems. They're both 2-ply. This is a sort of fractal spin. And they look great. So these were my 2 spins for the week. And I think that those are days 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think those are days 9 and 10. And so I am almost halfway. I think at the end of next week, I will be officially halfway done through the holiday advent, spending the holiday advent. So yeah, I'm just like continuing to do the 2 a week, which is really nice. I feel like it's a good pace to be on because I've noticed with these. I've noticed it with my other spins too, but with these ones specifically, because it's a small amount of fiber, it's like 1 ounce for each of these, versus like the 4-ounce braids I usually am working with. I like to, sometimes I will spin and ply on the same day. If I finish, spinning the singles, I'll ply on the same day. For these ones, because I don't know if it's because it's so small and so there's less of it on the bobbin, I feel like it just twists so much when I do that. And so for these ones, I have been just like spinning the singles, and I will let it rest for a day. Not necessarily like 24 hours, but definitely like just like stop, don't do anything with it, and then ply the next day on it. And that could actually also be because the way that I am plying it, this is definitely actually the reason. The way I'm plying it is that once I'm done with the singles, I wind it off of the bobbin onto a center pull ball, and then I do a 2-ply with the pulling from the center and the outside at the same time. And so when it's in that ball, if it's really, really like didn't have time to rest, and so it still has that energy, that like twist in it, it makes it really hard to ply using the center pull ball method. So I do just wait a day, the next day, to ply these, and it's been super helpful and super nice. So yeah, those are my fun little spins. And then let's talk about my 2 acquisitions for this week. Really quickly, I want to talk about just some yarn that I got in the mail. This is, I think that this is this the January or December or January collective yarn from Woolberry. This is the Berry Rambouillet DK. So this is my first time getting this base from Woolberry. She does have a Berry Rambouillet worsted, or Rambouillet worsted, which I've used and I've loved. But this is a DK, and so I wanted to get the Rambouillet DK as well. And this is the colorway Fika. And as you can maybe see, it is a very me colorway. It's a really light blush pink base with these really pretty colors of speckles, or yeah, I would say speckles, kind of variegation. You can see it, I'm trying to see, maybe this one you can see there's like blue here, and then there's some green. You can see the green right here, and maybe kind of like on the bottom here. And I don't know if maybe the green like broke or anything, but there's also some like golden kind of like speckles coming out over there. Kind of orangey, but not like overwhelmingly. And then some, of course, berry colors, or like pink colors in there. So love all of those colors combined. I got 3 skeins. I feel bad. I don't remember what my plan was. I must have had a plan, because I specifically got 3 skeins of this in the Rambouillet DK. Feels very planned for something. And I think it might have been for another Avenue vest by Tor.eu. I think. So I'm not going to cast on anytime soon, just in case I remember again. But right now, in my mind, I'm thinking Avenue vest, another one. Because I think that would be super nice. And also to have it in a Rambouillet base would be really nice and soft and warm. So that is that. And then this one, which is really exciting, I got in the mail, I got the La Mercerie February fiber for the year of fiber that La Mercerie is doing this year. So if you haven't gotten yours yet and you don't want to be spoiled for the surprise, look away now. But I'm going to hold it up and talk about it just briefly. So for February, for the fiber, it is from 40 Winks Fibers. And this is my first time getting fiber from them, and so I'm really, really excited to try it out. The colorway is called Weathering, and it is a Shaniko silk blend. So I just love that Shaniko just seems to be having a moment, or if they've always been having a moment, that I am now just aware of Shaniko and everything, and I love spinning with Shaniko, and this is my first Shaniko with silk in it, and so that should be super fun. It is 75% Shaniko wool, 25% mulberry silk, 21 micron. It's a 4-ounce braid. These colors are super, super me. It feels like, yeah, I mean, it's got that pink, that like dusty kind of mauve pink with some really light, like a really light pastel, kind of like tealy blue, and gray, or like a brown gray. And I just overall love the color story of this one, and very tempted to get more of it, but I already have so much fiber. But this made me really happy to see in the mail. And yeah, so this is the February fiber. I do not know yet. I haven't spun with the January fiber. Obviously not with the February fiber yet. I don't know if I want to wait until the end of the year to have all of them and then figure out what I want to make with them, whether do some combo spins with some of them or not, or to, try and spin all of them during the year. I don't know yet, but I think it is still early enough in the year for me to figure out what I want to do specifically. But for now, I'm just going to keep them, hold them, admire them, and just enjoy how they look like this, because it's really hard, because fiber braids look so nice and so pretty all braided up and in a little twisty like this. And so sometimes I just hate to break it up and actually spin it, but then it also looks really nice spun up, but it does look different, so it's kind of hard for me, because I think that the fiber and stuff looks great in every single stage, but once you spin it, you can't get it back in the fiber stage. So yeah. Okay, that is all my acquisitions. That's all I have to talk about project-wise this week. I want to mention, because last week I underestimated, so I said that I would I would try at least, get my Everything I Made video up and uploaded before the end of January. I was very confident that I could do that. However, so it is filmed, and so I am most of the way there. Right now I'm working on the editing, and the editing's taking a lot longer than I anticipated, just because there is a lot. And then in the middle of editing, I realized I forgot to mention one project, and so when I set up for filming today's episode, I did also just film that little extra that I need to put in there. So yeah, and I still need to take kind of my picture of all of my knits on the floor and me lying down in it for the thumbnail and all of that. So I still have a ways to go, but the recording is done. I need to tell you all and warn you all, this video is 4.5 hours long. Right now, the part that I'm editing, I've already edited out, the parts where I needed to cut the front and ends of some of the clips, and it is still 4.5 hours long. It is so long. And it's not even, I don't even think I'm talking about more projects than my past videos. So I must have just been feeling extra chatty and rambly when I filmed this. So it will get edited, it will get uploaded. I am not expecting anyone to watch it all in one sitting, because that is so long. That is longer than watching 2 movies back to back. So yeah, I hope you all still will enjoy it, even if I upload it in February and that it is so long. But yeah, I just couldn't believe it when I was working on it. I was like, oh my gosh, it is so long. And so I'm hoping that I remember from this for next year to just show it, talk about it, good, bad, wouldn't it again, yes, no, and then move on, because I don't know if I can go through editing a 4.5 hour long video again. But anyway, if you're still waiting for it, I really appreciate your patience. Thank you so much. And happy February. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your week. I am looking forward to, just working more on my projects, working on my February socks, casting on my new test knit, and I am I'm just going for it this year. I feel like I'm trying to just right away start on some of my goals and make some progress. And so I'm still feeling motivated. It's February, but I'm still feeling motivated. Hope you all are too. And so let me know in the comments down below what you've been working on. Keep me updated, and I'll see you all in next week's video. Bye.